Welcome to RVB and Friends. If you like this video or any of our others, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm Remy, and this is, in my opinion, the Ultimate Archer in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Alright, so for my take on the Ultimate Archer, I'm going primarily for consistency. When I think of an archer, I think of how archers were historically trained. Their strength was in their accuracy, their speed, and their dependability. I aim to achieve that by sticking with fighter all the way through level 20. However, there are alternatives I'll mention at the end that make the build more dynamic both in and out of combat. So to start off, for my race, I chose the half-elf, I chose the elf, wood elf specifically. And I chose it because it not only gives a +2 to dex, which helps out rangers and archers a lot, but it also gives a bunch of helpful abilities and features, such as Dark Vision and Mask of the Wild, which are great in pretty much any scenario. Being an elf also lets you take the Elven Accuracy feat, which will help immensely with the build later on. And so for abilities, we used point buy, but if your DM only allows standard array, you can mimic this with standard array, the 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'm going to go as the character sheet does. I put a 12 in strength because even though you're a backline DPS, you still are a fighter, and you can pull out a weapon to use when you get up close and personal with enemies. For an archer specifically, dexterity should be the thing you max out as fast as possible because it helps with your accuracy when you're shooting, the damage when you're shooting with a ranged weapon, and it also helps out your armor class. The constitution, especially for a fighter, is very helpful. Because you're a fighter, your defensive capabilities aren't nearly as high as other classes. You're not as elusive. So having the higher hit points actually will help you tank a little bit if you do somehow get hit. The intelligence, I put it at an 8. It's not extremely useful, in my opinion. If you're looking to do like nature, arcana, religion, etc., then you should at least make it not negative. But I personally don't find myself using those skills too much, so I leave it at an 8. On the contrary, wisdom is at a 13 because I use perception and wisdom-based skills a lot more, so I like to have it a bit higher. And the 10 in charisma is just because I hate having a negative. I try to avoid having a negative if I can, and charisma was kind of my dump stat when I had extra points. So onto the actual class features themselves. Mine's fairly simple and straightforward. At first level, you choose your proficiencies. I chose acrobatics and athletics. I use those a lot. I find myself enjoying having proficiency, so I chose them. That's up to you. Fighting style, because we're an archer, we're going to choose the archery fighting style. That'll give us a +2 bonus to attack rolls. And that's going to help out quite a bit. That +2 doesn't seem like all that much, but at the lower levels, that's a lot of potential damage you're gaining just from hitting the arrows. And you get second wind at first level. It's okay. It's kind of mediocre. It's there if you need it. It's more convenient than anything. Same with action surge. If you need to help out a buddy and use the help action, you can. Or if you need to do damage in a burst turn, then action surge is great. But until later on when the build starts to come together a little bit, it's more of used for convenience. Third level is where the build starts to pick up a little bit. You're going to pick the Samurai archetype from Xanathar's Guide to Everything, page 31. And it's going to give you a bonus proficiency, which is helpful. Choose what you want. I chose Insight. And the key thing it's going to give you is Fighting Spirit. Fighting Spirit can be used 3 times, and you regain all the uses when you finish a long rest. And it'll give you 5 temporary hit points, as well as giving you advantage on all attacks that turn. And it's a bonus action. So if you just take a bonus action and then attack, that attack automatically has advantage. Later on, when you have extra attacks and you have different feats, that damage is going to rack up really quickly. And speaking of feats, at 4th level, we're not going to take a ability score improvement. We're going to take Elven Accuracy. And it lets you up one dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, or charisma score. I chose dex. I think it's really important. And the main part is whenever you have advantage on an attack, Elven Accuracy lets you re-roll a die, meaning you have double advantage. So in conjunction with Fighting Spirit, that means you're going to have triple advantage on every attack for a turn. And if you pair that with an action surge, just at 4th level, that's 2 attacks with triple advantage, which is a lot of damage. Next level, that becomes 4 attacks, or 2 attacks 4th with action surge because of extra attack. And then at 6th level, you get another ability score improvement because of the fighter. We are also going to avoid the dex improvement for now, and we're going to take the sharpshooter feat. Attacking at a long distance doesn't impose disadvantage, and your mainly, like the main reason you're taking it is you can take a -5 penalty to the accuracy of an attack to add 10 damage to it. And when you have triple advantage on an attack, that -5 penalty really doesn't hurt you all that much. You have 3 attempts to try to make any attack you have. If you have advantage, you have 3 attempts to land it, which is an extremely high chance, and you get a +10 damage if you do manage to land it. So if you're action surging, that's just at 6th level, that's 4 attacks with triple advantage with +10 damage in each arrow. You can kind of see where we're going here with the consistency. 7th level, you don't really get all that much. It's kind of a supportive thing. It's more role play-ish. It's all right. And you get proficiency in wisdom saving throws. So that's cool. 8th level, you're going to finally get into the ability score improvements, and we're going to take 2 into dexterity, and that's going to max our dexterity from here. And once you hit 20, it's super helpful. At this point, your bonuses to hit are easily double digits, and your armor class and everything is just great. Indomitable, 9th level, it's great. You can reroll a saving throw you fail. It's all right. It's whatever. 10th level, you get Tireless Spirit. If you don't have any Fighting Spirit charges, you regain a use. Again, not all that great. Around this level is when other classes and other builds are going to start to get their powerful features. We're gaining consistency. Our power is going to come a little later. Our like jump in power is going to come a little later. At 11th level, you get your 3rd attack per attack action with extra attack. It's cool. It's whatever. It's going to add to your damage. It's going to make you just overall do more damage every single turn. It's amazing. So at 12th level, you get an ability score improvement. Here is where you get to make a choice as a player on whether or not you value health and resistance, as in Constitution. You can take a +2 to your Constitution, or you can take a +1 to your Wisdom score. Because I oftentimes find myself needing a little bit of health, I chose Constitution. It's up to you. 13th level, you don't gain anything. And 14th level is when I chose to take the Crossbow Expert feat. If you have some magic, if at this point in the game you have some magical bow, or you have a magical bow as in a named bow or a +1 or whatever, you can just stick with it and take either Constitution or Wisdom, or you can do what I did and take Crossbow Expert and find yourself a heavy crossbow. Compared to a longbow, you'll actually deal more damage, like quite a significant amount of increased damage, and there's no loading quality. So if you have a heavy crossbow and no other alternative, Crossbow Expert's amazing. And Rapid Strike at 15th level, it's all right. It's kind of a volley effect. So instead of using Elven Accuracy to gain triple advantage, you can instead use Rapid Strike to fire 2 arrows at just regular attack rolls. It's all right. I prefer quality over quantity when it comes to trying to hit targets. But if you do need that just volley of arrows onto something, Rapid Strike is exactly what you're looking for. It's similar to I believe it's also called Volley of Arrows in Ranger, how you can kind of spray down a weak mob. Rapid Strike is also really good at that. 16th level, simple ability score improvement. Once again, you can choose Constitution or Wisdom. I chose Constitution. And at 18th level, you get a super cool feature called Strength Before Death. And it's kind of a panic button. Because you're a ranged fighter, you shouldn't be within range to be hit by things, unless, of course, it's like long-range spells or something. But it's a really good button. So if you get hit to 0, like if you're one-shot somehow, you can just use Strength Before Death, use your second wind, and get those hit points back. And then continue on, and you'll get knocked down for barely a moment. It's useful, but don't rely on it. You should plan on trying to avoid damage rather than tanking it. You are, after all, the backline. 19th level, you get ability score improvement. I chose Constitution. Again, you can choose Wisdom. You can choose any other stat. I just prefer the health. And at 20th level, the Apex of Fighters, you get 4 attack instead of 3. And at this point in the game, if you are trying to get the most damage, you can use your Fighting Spirit as a bonus action, attack with 4 attacks with triple advantage, use a Sharpshooter for +10 damage, and then Action Surge for another 4 attacks. It's a crazy high amount of damage, and you can do it 2 or 3 turns in a row before having to finally cool your engines a little bit and just doing your 4 attacks per turn. It's crazy efficient, and the only change I would think to make to it outside of the decisions, you can include 2 levels of Warlock instead of the level 20 fighter. So you can go start. You always want to start fighter, but at some point in the middle, you can put 2 levels of Warlock. And the reason you do this is so you can go to Hexblade Warlock, which is also Xanathar's Guide to everything, and you can get the Hexblade's Curse. If you are a mid-rangey sort of archer and you don't want to sit in the back, if you can get within 30 feet of like the big bad evil guy or some sort of boss, you'll actually deal more damage than the level 20 fighter. However, that does come with the fact that you are within 30 feet, and even if you run back 30 or so feet, you can still get hit by quite a bit. And then because you're level 2 Warlock, you get invocations. You can choose. I prefer Devil's Sight, as Devil's Sight's always my go-to. It's just better dark vision, and you can choose something like Eyes of the Keeper or whatever else you want to pick. It adds a little bit of flexibility. It adds a little bit of spells, and so you can change up how you're going outside of combat as well as a little bit of inside of combat. But if you're going for just consistency, I would say stay with level 25.